Everybody was wondering where Bryce Huff was opposite Nick Bosa on the defensive line after week 1 in Seattle. I found him. Ball out, says Tim Ryan. And yeah, Saints end up recovering, but it doesn't matter because it was 4th down, and that sealed the deal as the Niners moved to 2-0 and beat the Saints 26-21. Here to help us talk all about it is our favorite guest on a Monday. He is the man, the myth, the legend himself, having quite a weekend with a little college football action, with a little NFL action, and, of course, all the 49er breakdowns. I'm talking about Larry Krueger, who joins us on the UMA guest line. What's up, Krug? How we feeling after 2-0?
My guys, we're feeling great, living our best life, and having a good old time.
Yeah, I said the fact that you and Kev were down in Louisiana, there was no doubt that NorCal was going to take over the French Quarter. I wasn't sure about actual seats in the stadium, but it seemed like that worked out pretty well too. Let's get right into the play we just came in with, Bryce Huff and the defensive line in general. Just talk about at large the difference between week 1 and week 2 Mykel Williams and Bryce Huff making his presence known. I know you were really high on this offseason move. What did you see in Huff that would work so well opposite of Nick Bosa like it did in the fourth quarter yesterday?
Well, I think, it's funny, Greg. I think everybody was asking that question. What happened to Huff last year? He was on the Eagles. How come he stunk? How come he didn't play? How come he was a total zero non-factor? And this was my question, and I asked it to Chris Kasarik when we had a chance to talk to Kasarik at the beginning of training camp. And he gave me an answer that was so satisfying and so inside football to a point that I didn't even really understand it myself at first. And he basically just said that Bryce Huff, that the step sequence for a 3-4 outside linebacker is quite a bit different than the step sequence for a 4-3 wide 9 defensive end. And that he just is a much better fit for this scheme in this front than he was in Philly. He's not a drop and cover linebacker. Even a half dozen snaps a game. That's not his game. He's a pin your ears back, unbelievably well choreographed first 3-step edge rusher who hunts quarterbacks. And now he's in a system that fits. And he gives this defense a ton of teeth. I said it a month ago. This guy is the best defensive end opposite Nick Bosa the Niners have ever had. And so if they can get leads, I think you've seen it in the first couple of weeks. If you can get a lead and these guys can dial up heat and they can be your finishers. And Huff had a huge play for that.
Krueger, as you look at the defense overall, these first couple of weeks, it's been a little bend but don't break. It's been a lot of key plays to get off the field at important times. What did you think overall just yesterday of, the Saints were able to run it on them a little bit. Rattler was comfortable for a decent chunk of the game, but yet it just doesn't feel as if the 49ers defense is ever in panic mode in these first couple of games. It feels like they're just very composed and they understand that there's going to be some good, there's going to be some bad. But if you win enough of the big plays, the third downs, the critical turnovers when teams are starting to drive or trying to finish a drive to beat you, if you do that and you win those big moments, you're going to wind up having a really good defense despite what the stats may say. Is how much of that is just Saleh being back and being in the fold? Because it just feels like when things are good or bad these first couple of weeks, there's just no panic.
Yeah, JD, I think it's well said. I think Robert Saleh and Gus Bradley give this defense just a lot of confidence and a lot of belief that, Saleh can scheme something up on third downs and steal a couple series over the course of a game. You don't have to have if you steal one or two series as a defensive coordinator with a really well-timed call here or there, it can make all the difference in the world. I looked at some of the blitz numbers. Niners went with a 4-man front most of the time, but they did mix in some blitzes, and we've seen it effectively, taking part the first 2 weeks. Saleh's got a good idea, good timing of when to send guys. He's got game plans on how to dial up some exotics. I think the biggest overwhelming positive, though, that I wasn't expecting is that the 49er four-man front, their four-man, call it NASCAR package, call it nickel front, call it whatever you want. But it's when you have Mykel and you tier Gross-Matos at tackle and you got Huff and you got Bosa off the flanks. And I just think the games that they can play and the rush that they can mount with that foursome is going to be overpowering.
Talking to Larry Krueger here on the UMA guest line, just to stick it with the defense here for a little bit longer. I don't think that this is something that was too much of a concern, but I'm just taking note of everything. And they got 5 penalties as a whole, a team, none in the first half. And on the defensive side, you're seeing guys like rookies, Marquise Siegel, Upton Stout, get called for little penalties here and there. Just one of those things I take note of at this early stage in the season, but I wanted to get your perspective on that. If you're seeing this as mistakes that is part of the learning experience of the speed of the NFL game, or maybe if in the case of yesterday, it was just some 50-50 calls that didn't go in the way of guys like an Upton Stout or a Siegel in pass coverage.
Well, I mean, I think, there's a belief that, and this goes back to Gus Bradley and the Seattle Legion of Boom days that, if you're physical in every play, they can't call a penalty on every play. So you're almost daring. You're going to play super physical and kind of dare the officials to draw that line for you every week. And I think you're seeing a little bit of that. And also you're seeing, you mentioned Siegel and Upton Stout. They're also young guys who are trying to figure out what they can and can't get away with at this level. The only way to know where the line is to walk right up to it all the time and have the officials kind of define it for you. And I think that's what you're really seeing from the young guys early. They want to be aggressive. They want to make plays. They have that mindset, but they also they have to know where that line is drawn for them, and the officials have to kind of define that.
Switching gears to the offensive side, just got to get your take on Mac Jones. Just a solid performance. I think better than solid performance. He avoided the critical mistake. I know there were a few balls early, a few balls really throughout the game that he missed, a few that you noted that we could all see that sailed on him a little bit early in the game. But he seemed to play with a lot of poise and a lot of comfort in the system. And Kyle really was in lockstep. It was there are games where you can get a little frustrated with Kyle Shanahan's play calling, I think, if you're a 49er fan. I know we were both looking at each other and texting, like, what's going on with the runs or not running the ball to start the game, the 3 straight passes to start the game. But it was a game where the Niners, I think, believed that they were going to need to pass the ball to win, and Mac was able to do it.
I think it's just Kyle's feel was that Arizona ran it for 5-4 a carry in that first game in week 1. And that the Saints coaching staff was going to sit there and harp on those guys all week. Hey, we got to stop the run. We got to stop the run. We got to stop the run. And so I think just to keep them off balance a little bit, they came out throwing. And then eventually, of course, achieved the offensive balance that Kyle Shanahan often achieves. But as far as Mac Jones, I loved Mac Jones. I love the way he played. I love the fact that he's having fun. I love the fact that he's, one of the popular guys in the room. I love the fact that he's dancing with the boom box up front. And I mostly love the way he played in this game on third down. He threw for 121 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and a passer rating of 132.3 on third down. That is better defined as the quarterback down. And he just absolutely played really, really well. And, it does make you wonder, if the Niners had just gone with Mac Jones instead of Trey Lance, where would they be right now? Would Mac Jones be the guy? Would they have even drafted Purdy? Would they, how would Niner history have been different? I don't know, but I'll say this. He looks like a perfect fit here. I think after watching him for 2 weeks, my number one takeaway is I'm thrilled that the Niners signed him to a 2-year deal and not a 1-year deal, because I have a feeling if he continues to play well, there will be a market for him, like a significant market for him in the offseason. So I think it was a genius move, really.
Yeah, well, Krug, I mean, it's likely that Mac Jones is going to go again, at least for another start against Arizona this week. So when you think about building off of that performance and the game plan that Kyle Shanahan created for this week, what's the big challenge for both Shanahan and Mac to replicate that against an Arizona team that's coming in and also got a nice 2-0 start to their season?
Well, Arizona's built up, on defense. Jonathan Gannon, I think it's pretty obvious now watching Shane Steichen in Indy and Gannon in Arizona that Philly lost two really good coordinators there. And those guys are going to have success running their own programs. So as far as, the challenge this week, the Niners are going to be challenged on a lot of fronts. On the defensive side, you got a big physical back in James Conner, and you have a really hard, maybe the most difficult quarterback to defend as far as the run. You also have one of the NFL's best tight ends in Trey McBride and some big receivers who can catch the ball. So I think offensively they're interesting. Defensively, Baron Browning is a converted linebacker who's at defensive end, so he's a speed threat off the edge for sure. They've got Josh Sweat, who's got a lot of talent. They've poured a lot of resources into their defense. This is a really physical, defense that Arizona has. So Niners are going to be challenged on both sides of the ball in this game.
I want to get your take on just what the 49ers should do this week. The report before the game from Adam Schefter on Brock Purdy, making it sound, the Niners not maybe optimistic about Purdy's availability for the Arizona game, that he could play, but it's going to be tight. But to me, the big takeaway is that bodes well for the Jacksonville game for week 4. And I look at Mac yesterday and the way everything functioned, and you're going to need Brock Purdy. I'm not creating any form of a quarterback controversy. That's not where I'm going, Krug. I'll leave that to you if you want to do that down the line. I'm kidding, but we can do it. But for me, it's a no-brainer that you let Brock sit against Arizona because you're going to need him against the Rams and Tampa and Atlanta, and you've got that middle chunk of the schedule that is, I think, the most difficult. Houston is in there, difficult part of the schedule. Is there any benefit to getting Purdy back out there against Arizona as opposed to just letting him rest, letting him continue to get healthy, really targeting that Jacksonville game, which seems like it's realistically on the table, and just go see if Matt can put together another quality performance against, without question, a better Arizona team than the team they just saw in New Orleans?
Well, this is where it's, you need some of the leaders in the organization, the Lynches of the world to kind of demand the macro view of this season. Yes, I bet you anything, Brock Purdy watched that game and was like, I want to be back in there next week, and he's real adamant about it. Say, Brock, sit down. We want to be playing games that are meaningful at Levi's in February, and we need you for that game. We don't need you to beat the Arizona Cardinals or the New Orleans Saints. And if it was the kind of injury that there would be no chance of, hurting it worse, then it would be one thing. But if you have a groin strain, if you got a hamstring, in this case, you've got a turf toe. Turf toe, if exacerbated, can be awful. It can be career altering. If Brock Purdy loses, 3 steps of speed because of turf toe, he's not the same guy. And that's a big part of his value proposition is his escapability. So I would say no. Take the macro view of the world. Tell Brock, hey, you know what? I know you're competitive as hell. I get it. I know it's hard to watch this guy succeed, and I know it's going to complicate things, so on and so forth. Let's not worry about that. You got paid. You're the guy. Let's do what's right for your toe. Let's do what's right for the team. And let's give that thing, if doctors say it needs 3 to 4 weeks of rest, let's give it 5 to 6 weeks of rest and make sure that when you come back, you're a full go. That's how I play my hand of cards. If you had no backup quarterback, if you couldn't win without Brock Purdy, it'd be one thing. But I think you can win without Brock Purdy. I think that was proven yesterday.
Few more minutes here with Larry Krueger. And look, one of our questions on Friday was who's going to be the 49ers leading receiver? I did not expect it to be Jawan Jennings given his questionable status, the shoulder injury, the lack of time he's had to build chemistry with Mac Jones, leads the team in yargets. Yargets as in yards and targets. I did a little combination of word right there. But with the game he went and had, being questionable going into it, does that make you think any differently about the impending free agency he'll eventually be going into and the importance for the Niners to keep him around? I mean, this guy is just consistent time and time again, and whether it's third down or whether it's taken on a larger role because other guys are out or suspended, he's just found a way to always answer the bell.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should overthink this. I mean, do the Niners like JJ? No, they love JJ. If they could clone him, they would. So yeah, they're gonna do whatever they can to try to extend him. Now, if he has the kind of year that gets him north of $20 million, they're probably going to draw that line in the sand and let him walk and grin and bear it type thing. It's like I don't know how it's going to shake out, but Shanahan loves him. The players love him. The coaching staff loves him. The general manager loves him. It's all going to be about where does his market go? Where does the market go? I think they're going to draw a line in the sand, but they love this player, so they're going to do everything in their power to try to retain him. As I said, they would clone him if they could, and I would too, because, I mean, let's be honest, man. There's good players, there's great players, there's tone-setting players, and then there's the guys who are they just show up. They're money players, and you put money on the table, and these guys show up, and that's that guy. So, how fast is he? I don't know. How good is he? I don't know. All I know is I want him on my team and not on the other team. He's a big money player. Would there be any doubt in anybody's mind? I mean, if Purdy somehow, if somehow the Niners beat the Chiefs, we're talking about a Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and it's so hard to find the Madison Bumgarners of the world, the guys who are going to elevate in their moment, that when you find those guys, you're just like, damn right, we want to keep them. We want to clone them. We want to do anything in our power to find more guys like this, So, man, if I were the Niners personnel department, I'd be having a meeting figuring out what traits does JJ possess that we can kind of put into our system and see if we can find more JJs. Because, this guy lives for the W, man. The old coach used to say some guys play for the money, some guys play for the girls, some guys play for the glory, and some guys play to just, F stuff up. And that's JJ, man. He's physical with an F, and he's looking to be real physical, and, man, he's awesome. So they're going to do what they can, but the answer is if his market explodes to a certain level, he'll probably have to walk, but they're going to do what they can to retain him. It.
Krueger, I'd love to get your thoughts just on the league overall. I know you were talking about it a little bit on your stream last night. Just give me your one big overarching NFC, I'll say NFC headline that's not 49ers specific, but maybe relates to the 49ers season.
Well, I just, it's hard to, I've been so immersed with the 49ers on this trip that I didn't get a chance to see as much of the games as I wanted to. But I really do think the 49ers are, right there with the elite contenders in the NFC. I just, there's Philly. I predicted in July that this would be a down year for the NFC North, and I'll stay with that. I think the Bears, the Lions, and the Vikings are all going to take a step backwards. But I think the best teams are Philadelphia and Green Bay and the 49ers. There's Tampa, there's the Rams, there's a couple other teams, there's Washington. But I think it's those three, Philly, Green Bay, and the Niners in the NFC. And I think the Niners have a lot of confidence because they realize they can win games with multiple quarterbacks. I think they have a lot of confidence because you're seeing what the impact of Robert Saleh and Gus Bradley does for the defense. And they've drafted some studs. C.J. West, Mykel Williams, Siegel, Stout. I mean, they've added some serious studs. So the Niners, 2 games in, I think we all should look at that Niner personnel department and say, hey, look, they blew some of these drafts, 22, 23, Drake Jackson, all these busts of Danny Gray. I was at the LSU game. Ty Davis-Price was on the cannon shooting T-shirts. This guy's supposed to be running the ball in the Superdome as the Niner. Instead, he's shooting T-shirts out of a cannon at the LSU game. So it's like they screwed up the draft a bunch in the past, but they got it right this year. I think Niner fans should feel really, really good. I mean, I think this is a team that they got multiple running backs. They Connor Colby, and we didn't talk about Connor Colby. Connor Colby stepped in at guard, and he looks like he could be there for the next 15 years. I mean, he looks great. And I would not put Ben Barch back in there. I would wait for Jake Brendel to struggle and put Ben Barch at center. I'm going with Connor Colby. I've seen enough of Connor Colby to say, hey, you know what? It's time to go with Connor Colby. And think about that. Back-to-back drafts, Niner fans, the unhappy Niner fan that's walking around going, Lynch, they've ignored their offensive line. Really? Last year, they got the best offensive lineman in the entire draft in the 3rd round in Dom Pooney, who I talked to after the game yesterday. He's fired up about Mac Jones and how he's playing. And then this year, they may get another starting guard in the 7th round out of Iowa. So they have drafted their future guard tandem, which is the futures now, in the last 2 drafts. So they have not ignored the offensive line. And they do need they are going to have to go into the tackle market for sure this next offseason. But I'm so excited about Connor Colby because I watched him on the binoculars. He had a phenomenal game. I mean, this guy is he's kind of an old soul. He's like a young veteran who knows how to play, 50 career starts in college, really well coached. Very excited today about Connor Colby.
Hey, Krug, I want to let you go enjoy the end of your trip, but just real quick, are you going to have a chance to watch Bryce Eldridge tonight with that call-up news?
You know what? I got the Monday night doubleheader. I got that going tonight. I got Bryce Eldridge. Yeah, I'm fired up for a little Bryce Eldridge. I'm not sure how he's going to do. He's probably going to strike out too much. He's probably not ready. But you know what? Instantly, they become a more must-watch kind of team. And I would love to see Bryce Eldridge get into a hot streak and the Giants, carry the Giants to the wild card. How amazing would that be? Nothing would make my September better than the Niners rolling off to a 4-0, 5-0 start and Bryce Eldridge leading the Giants into what would have to be the most improbable playoff berth in a long, long time. I'm so rooting for that, guys. It's a great time to be a Bay Area sports fan.
Well, I got to say, one thing I did not expect is to see Bryce Eldridge called up to the Giants in some must-win baseball in the month of September. So, yeah, it's going to be must-watch baseball on our end. And, dude, go enjoy the rest of your trip. Appreciate you. I know we're going to be using you a lot as we got the exciting news that Papa's going to be back tomorrow. But we're going to have you on as a guest every Monday, and I'm sure we're going to be doing a handful of shows together throughout the season. So, looking forward to continue to talk and enjoy the rest of your time down south, man.
Hey, Krug.
Yes, JD.
I've got a couple of recommendations for you. Nod, wink, wink for where to watch the Monday Night Football doubleheader. Got a couple recs for you. I'll have to text you those recommendations. I'll text Kevin those recommendations. But no, go ahead. I'll let you finish. We're all thrilled to obviously have Papa back.
Yeah, man. I just wanted to say I've been texting a little bit with Greg during this trip, and he's the best. He's the best. And I saw his partner in the elevator, and I'm like, T-Rock's in the elevator. And Tim's like, hey, I'm like, we're riding the elevator. I just decided to embarrass T-Rock. So I go, we're riding the elevator with the number one color analyst in the league. And he started laughing. But, Pop, if you're out there, brother, we love you. All the Niner family, all the Niner media, all the Niner fans on Bourbon Street. lots of well wishes, lots of concern about you. And I can't wait to hear you behind that microphone doing your thing. Love you, brother. I love you.
Krug, you're the best. Appreciate you, and we'll talk soon.
Yep. Sounds good, fellas.
Larry Krueger, you can check him out on Niners Nightly, of course.